If you load it up big, you better clear the rest. The solvent list takes away all my stress. Life's been feeling like kind of a mess. I'll never let a hater make me think less, because everything before this was just a test.
Bagsy Chronicles.
I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we've been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying medicated. I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we've been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying medicated. I'm about to go up in a blaze. I don't give a fuck unless I'm getting paid. When life gives you lemons, better make lemons.
Welcome, esteemed guest, to the liminal space of podcasting known as the Bagseed Chronicles. I am filtering to you through the live wire at 64 to 128 kilobits per second. I am your horticultural host, Uncle Dig, and as always, it has been too long, but I am back to shepherd you through these smoke-filled hallways to nowhere. This signal has been going places that do in fact exist. I am happy to report that I broke into 2 new countries in 2 very historic cities, Krakow, Poland, and Lisbon, Portugal. I actually think the download in Poland is from a friend of the show, Chad, who recently made a trip to Auschwitz and also authored the original theme song for the Bagseed Chronicles. One day, we may get Chad to sit down on an episode of the Bagseed Chronicles. That episode will be interesting, to say the least. You know, I've almost been treating this podcast the way a ham treats how far his signal is gone. And every time... Oh, a ham is an amateur radio enthusiast, if you're not a complete and utter hopeless nerd. So, they play a game where they try to see how far they can shoot radio signals across the globe. This is way cheaper than that, but it amuses me to no end that I have been listened to in places as different as the People's Republic of China and Frankfurt, Germany. It makes me so happy, and it fills me with glee. I would love to break into Africa. That's one of the few continents I have not broken into yet. So if you travel to Africa, listen to the Bagseed Chronicles while you're there. Today, I have a lovely interview with Bong Marley, who is rapidly becoming a show favorite. We talk about the first time he smoked cannabis, his incarceration as a younger man, and a little cannabis policy as well. I hope you stick around for that, but before we get into that, how about a garden update? Uncle Dig's garden update. It is September 2nd, 2023. I am in gardening zone 8B, and this is Uncle Dig with your garden update. I have harvested 6 of the 7 autoflowers I grew this summer. Of the 6 I harvested, 5 are dried and have been weighed. The Girl Scout cookie from 420 Fast Buds yielded 0.90 ounces. The Crystal Meth from 420 Fast Buds yielded 1 ounce. The Jesus Christ from Mosca Seeds yielded 0.99 ounces. And it does, in fact, taste like cheese. It's amazing. The Blue Eyes White Dragon from Gemseeker Genetics yielded 1 ounce. And the Planetary Gas from Gemseeker Genetics, the first pheno, yielded 1.34 ounces. So I've yielded 5.34 ounces so far. I don't expect monster yields from outdoor autoflowers. They seem to put out bigger yields indoors, but I also germinated these during 90-degree weather. Maybe don't do that. If I pull an average of 1 ounce on outdoor autoflowers, I'm usually happy. I lose a lot of flowers due to pests generally in one way or another. This year, it was caterpillars and spiders making nests in my flowers. But once I cut out that shit this year, I have been growing some of the best flower I have ever grown. The quality of the outdoor is rivaling the quality of the indoor this year. I really think this organic, dry, amendment-only approach is the bee's knees. The only liquid additive I use is an occasional watering with SLF 100, which is an enzyme that helps make your dry amendments more bioavailable in the soil. The second planetary gas is still drying and has been hanging for 7 days so far. The Afghan Auto from 420 Fast Buds is not ready to harvest yet. She won't be top dressed again. She is just getting watered while I wait for her to completely mature. We're almost done with the autoflower season. I pushed it really late, and the autoflower harvest is going to be bumping right in to the photoperiod harvest probably. And let's talk about my photoperiod garden. I have 8 photoperiods, 2 CBD Dutch treat plants that are feminized. I have 2 other feminized plants. One is a super skunk from ilovegrowingmarijuana.com and an amnesia haze from ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. I grew the amnesia haze last year and was very, very impressed. I also have two seedlings going that are not feminized, but I have sexed them. They are the Fire of Maroof 1 and 2 of this year. And I also have 2 bag seeds that I've sexed this year. I've got a Jaeger bag seed and a Forbidden Fruit bag seed. All of the plants out there are like in early to mid flower. I suspect that the CBD Dutch treat will finish first sometime in late December. That's just how it usually happens. I'm not spraying any more oil-based like pesticides. I was using Mammoth Peep Can Control once a week. The only plants that'll get that are the Fire of Maroof, and they'll only get it one more time. And that'll be it. And then everybody will be getting a couple more doses of BT, and even that will be stopped shortly. So we're out of spraying season, and we're into some of the final top dresses for some of the plants that are looking more to mid-flower than early flower. And then realistically, the only plant that's going to get more than one top dress moving forward is going to be the Fire of Maroof, just because I know for a fact it's how long it takes to flower is like 45 days. It's a quick flowerer, but I also know that I'm going to top dress it here in the next couple days. So it can take probably one more top dress before. Well, we'll see how the plants look, right? It'll depend on what the plants look. I'm still conflicted because if the plants aren't showing any fading at all and they're moving through flower strong, I may not top dress again. But if they look like they could use an extra bump, then that's what I'll do. I will say this has not been dry amendment only. I did give them CalMag one time. I messed up on my feeding schedule, or it wasn't breaking down in the soil quick enough. Something happened, and I just gave the plants a little bit of CalMag to get them right back on track, and it did that at the advice of another grower. So still organic, right? But no longer dry amendment only, right? So full disclosure, right? I know I would want to know if someone had added a little sweetener to the sauce, and I just had to let y'all know. But, I mean, still fine, right? So, that's the garden update. Let's overgrow the world! Everyone, please join me in welcoming to the Backseat Chronicles Bong Marley. Bong Marley is a force for mayhem and positive vibes on Instagram. You could follow him on Instagram. He is also a bud tender in Washington State and a longtime cannabis consumer. Welcome to the podcast, Bong Marley.
Yo, welcome. Thanks for having me back, man. We always have loads of fun anytime I come on.
Oh, it's a great time. And speaking of good times, what have you been smoking on?
Man, right now I actually just smoked some Slurricane, man, and it kind of it zonked me out for a bit. Just lost my whole train of thought, man. I had to sit back for a second and just regather myself, man. It really caught me off guard, but it's my weekend, so I was really trying to, chill out.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a fun hang. I'm not as prepared for this episode as I normally am. I only got like 5 questions written down, so it should be a good hang. And I just had a snap of OG before we got on here. But I'm getting ready to smoke something else that I just got a hold of from this local dispensary near me called Gush Mints. So not Kush Mints.
Oh,
Gush mints. Have you seen that around?
I have. There's a what is it? There's a farm called Hefty Boys up this way. They make some hash rosin joints. That are that strain. It's pretty cool, but I don't see that one too much up here. The Gushmints, no.
Well, I'm getting ready to do a rip of it.
There we go.
So yeah, it's pretty good. Have you been hitting the bong today already?
I have, man. That was first order of business as soon as I got home from work.
Me
That was
too.
it. Yeah, it's just kind of a ritual at this point. Like it's just one of those things that has to be done.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm a daily cannabis user, so
Definitely.
I don't always smoke strong cannabis in the morning. I think that's a misnomer for some folks. I mean, I'm smoking a lot of CBD and stuff in the morning, and then I switch over to the like heavier stuff.
Yeah, and for me, it definitely kind of depends on what I got going on that day and kind of dictated upon my mood and a couple other factors. So I got a couple things that I keep in rotation. It's not always the same thing in the morning as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that Gush Mints is good, man.
Yeah, man, good to hear. Good to hear. I mean, Gushers is actually one of my favorites there. The Triangle Mints and like Gelato 41 or Kelly
Okay.
Gushers to be specific. That's one of my favorites there.
I'm generally like if it's got mint, like if it's one of the Kush Mints crosses, or if it's a Thin Mint Girl Scout cookie cross specifically, I usually enjoy it.
Yeah, and see myself, I find myself I'm super picky about any kind of mint strain. It's just I don't know. And same thing with like Oreos. Like Oreos, I'm very very picky about because to me it's one of those strains that I feel like is bred for potency and not quite any terpenes or anything like that. It's just
Oh,
always
okay, interesting. Because I was gonna say I've had Oreos before, and a lot of those like other cookies crosses that don't have the mints in them, and I haven't been as impressed.
yeah. I guess it just has to do with how deep the genetics go and which side they're favoring. But it's just my personal experience. It's been like Oreos and a lot of mint strains just haven't been anything to write home back to mom about. It's been kind of mid.
Well, and to be honest, a lot of when I'm smoking a mint strain, I'm chasing a specific cut that I had access 2 years ago that I don't even know if exists anymore. It was a
Yeah,
specific Thin Mint Girl Scout cookie pheno that my buddy had, and he doesn't
yeah,
run it anymore. And I've never kept anything year round, so I couldn't
yeah.
keep it
See, that's the
around.
tricky part. It's easy to lose track of them.
Well, yeah, and if you're not, it takes special equipment, even more beyond like indoor growing. Like you've got to be able to have an environmentally controlled environment year round, and I don't have a space like that where I'm growing, other
Yeah,
than in my studio here. But if I dedicate a 2x2 tall, like a 2x2 tent, to
yeah,
having a mother plant, then that's an area I can't flower cannabis in or veg. It's just you're giving up so much space. And for
yeah,
me, I only have one 2x2 indoor space that I can run year round. So
yeah,
I don't want to give up that grow space to keeping a mother around.
yeah. It's kind of going in the opposite direction you want to.
Yeah, I would say like if I could afford to run two 4x4s in my garage, then I might hide a mother in
Yeah,
my studio, but also like I crave variety with cannabis. Like I just like different stuff. So the way I do that is I grow out a bunch of different stuff. Now there's stuff that stays in the rotation. Like
yeah,
I keep
exactly.
ordering seeds from the same places if I like them.
And that's like how I'm at the weed shop. I mean, yeah, I get everybody kind of has their favorites and everything like that. But there's these people that are always like just stuck on the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like if you really appreciated cannabis the way you think you do, man, you would try all aspects and try to find a bunch of different new things instead of just going over the same thing over and over and over and over
I
again.
agree with you to a certain extent, but like I'm also a medical guy and I love cannabis. And
Yeah,
sometimes when I'm exploring, I end up shooting myself in the foot, particularly anxiety.
yeah,
There's a particular strain right now that's very popular, apple fritter.
yeah,
And there's at least to me, it seems like there's a cut of it running around that's sativa leans, and
yeah,
there's a cut that's more of a hybrid indica leaner.
yeah.
And the hybrid indica leaner treats me fine, and the sativa makes me want to scratch my own eyeballs out.
Yeah, and you see that part I understand because you're seeking out certain benefits and things that benefit you in the right ways. Me personally, I'm talking more as opposed to there's some people who will it's more of following a trend. Like they'll know one
Oh,
strain.
yeah, people who chase hype strains.
Yeah, they chase the hype strains, but it's like they get so stuck on it. It's like the only way they're able to identify it as experience is through that specific strain. When, like I said, because odds are, like I said, if you get stuck on a strain, like I said, you're going into your local dispensary, they are not the ones growing it right then and there. They are getting it, from whoever other farm. So odds
Right.
are it's not going to be there 110% of the time. So that's where I come into play. It's like, if you really are into this strain, like you say, find the terpenes, find things about it that you like, and kind of
Right.
broaden your horizon that way, just so like you have backup plans. Look for families that these things are prevalent in, but it's just like they're so stuck on just a name that as soon as you try to even suggest anything else, like nope, this won't do it, or they'll
So
come back and yeah, that wasn't it.
I will
It's
come into your shop and I will say I'm looking for something. But
yeah,
if you show me something that smells cheesy, like legitimately like stinky cheese, I everything I said will go out the window, and I'll buy a strain that might not even work for me just based on those cheese terps, dude.
and you see that part right there. That part alone is I was actually just talking to somebody from the Portland area, just kind of comparing, apples and oranges to how our market is up here. That right there, that is already a roadblock for me because we are all sealed up. There's no sniff jars.
Oh, yeah, we've talked
Yeah.
about this. Oh
Yeah.
man.
At one point they did start that, but Washington is a very, kind of do it first and then wait for somebody to tell you can't do that. So when we first went recreational, we did have like sniff jars and things like that. But it quickly got shut down just because somehow that was missed in the actual original legislation when they set these regulations, that part was missed. You can't have open container. That man having a
Which is
sniff jar is
such garbage. Because, like,
it is.
listen, there are dispensaries, and I go to several of them that'll let you stick your nose right in the jar. But there are
Exactly.
other dispensaries that have like a little like jar with like a mesh lid, and they open up a glass container and hand you that and let you smell that. And it's the
Yeah.
dedicated smell jar. And that fixes your whole is this contaminated by the customer problem, but they won't even let you do that, which is just ludicrous.
Absolutely not. Everything is sealed as soon as it leaves the processor. It is sealed up until it gets to the consumer.
And that's how that stuff right there is how mids get passed off as top shelf.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Because
listen,
you
and I'm not a
limits your
guy who hates mids, but like if I'm paying $14 a gram, you better
yeah,
not be selling me some OG I could get for $5 on the street.
exactly. It's like, that's where it becomes the challenge is how am I justifying, this price difference when they can't touch it, feel it, smell it, they can't do anything but look at the packaging. Like, so that's a little bit harder sell in there. So it kind of takes a little bit of the customer knowing what they're looking for as well as us kind of taking that information and running with it and kind of asking a little more explorative questions. But yeah, when you have right off the bat an obstacle like that, it kind of it turns it into a you got to take my word for it kind of thing, as opposed to really trying to be like, okay, I want this exact smell and kind of thing like that. You just got to go off of what you know about it already. it's
That's
it's a
rough, but
entirely
also
yeah,
you're way more reliant on your bud tender that way because you got to be like, all right, have you sampled this? Okay,
exactly.
was it, because like sometimes like certain strains, if they'll have a really powerful effect, but they won't smell like they taste. And that's when a
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
bud,
yeah.
or you'll break it apart in your grinder, or you'll break open the nug, and all of a sudden, whereas before you didn't have that like whoa, and then you break open the nug, and you're like, oh gosh, oh there it is. I didn't smell the
Yeah.
garlic before. There's GMO like that. That straight
Yeah,
smells
definitely.
that smells like straight just funk, just like armpit funk. And then you break it open, and that's when you get that garlic and onion and all that other stuff in there.
Yeah.
I love GMO.
Indeed, man. There's quite a bit of variations going around up here right now as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things like if I'm gambling up there, a lot of times like it's one of those strains I recognize. And I
Yeah,
know that even if it's not the GMO, I know it's going to be a stinky oniony indica. And so
exactly.
and so you learn that name recognition and it's not always helpful because like you said, there's some variation people can harvest later early, but at least it gives you a place to start.
Exactly. But when you're just fixated on a name, it keeps your lane a little bit too narrow and it sets you up for disappointment.
It really does. And and you get and different people get excited about different stuff too. Like
Yeah.
I've always been a cookies guy, even if it's not a particularly impressive cut of cookies. I usually enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
just like people are like, why is cookies so hype? I'm like, people like me. That's why. Because
Yeah, right? You got
it
people going to war for it.
it consistently tastes pretty good. It has an intense it slaps. It's a powerful strain. It doesn't put you to sleep, but it helps with anxiety. And that's so it's a good strain for I would say I don't want to say an accomplished consumer, but a practiced consumer, right? Because I
Yeah.
do think it can be a little spacier. But that's why I like it. It kind of takes me out of my own head, which is important.
Yeah. Yeah, and see that actually brings me to one of my all-time favorite. I was like, I pretty much go after anything that has Granddaddy Purple in it, because that's one of my all-time favorites. And I actually just got this Candyland, and that's a GDP and a Platinum Girl Scout cookies cross.
I've
But
had
I haven't
Candyland
broke into the
before. That's good.
yeah. Yeah, and yeah, this is a newer farm we had just picked up, so I'm super excited. I haven't cracked it open yet. I'm saving this. I'm treating it like a dessert.
So I've had you. I think this is the fourth time I've had you on the podcast. I
Yeah,
think.
it has to be at least the fourth time. Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
because I went back and and I usually listen to like ask my guests like, hey, take us back in time to when you first smoked pot and tell us about it. And I went back. I'm like, surely I've asked Bong Marley when he smoked weed. I haven't asked you when you first smoked weed, dude. I didn't ask you.
No, man, that's great. I know. I just what
No,
you
because
talking about.
I literally we just went straight into like you like putting orange juice in your bong, right? Like I was so ready and so
Yeah.
anxious to talk to you about like did the hot sauce burn going down that I never asked you. So
Yeah.
would you like to share your first time smoking weed stories with us on the Backseat Chronicles?
Yeah. Let's do it, man. Let's do
Hell
it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah! So give us the time, the space. How old were you?
Man, so I was 13, man, and it was a completely different it was definitely a complete 180 experience for me because I first of all I grew up in a home to where it was the churchy vibe, going to church and just everything outside of, not listening to mom and dad was absolute cardinal sin.
For
Um
sure.
and then going along with that, I was super into school, getting the good grades, and I also did sports. So at the time I was actually doing track and field.
Okay.
And so yeah, there was one of the new kids that gotten on the team. He only been on the team a couple of days. And so after practice, we decided to hang out and he asked, hey, you want to go to my cousin's house? So I was like, all right, didn't even think anything of it. So we go over there and I go in and I instantly think it smelled terrible. Because first of all, like looking back on it, it was absolute shit weed. When I first walked in, when I walked in the house, it smelled like, burnt hay, like, but still, again, I didn't think nothing.
I still turn to my wife and I'm like, I turn back and like, there's this girl that lived across the street from my grandma. I'm like, baby, it's like, listen, with these two weeds together, this cheap weed I'm smoking and that mid you're smoking right now smells like old Lassie. And she laughs. She's like, like, because that's what the neighbor's house smelled like. This girl I used to go over and play with when I was a kid. Her house smelled like dog shit and like shit weed.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was directly after track practice, man. So, I'm exhausted. I'm just trying to go and chill, maybe watch a movie, eat some snacks, kind of thing like that. So yeah, we get to the house and it's like I said, it just smells absolutely terrible. Still didn't think nothing of it. I head for the kitchen and I'm starting making snacks. And so of course out comes the cousin. He's this real big, heavy set dude. And he comes out with what I thought was a vase. It was not a vase. And
Oh!
Yeah, man, he starts, bringing out the stuff, and so I figured out that was what the smell was coming from. My green ass, I tried to take off. That was my first indication. Was like, yeah, I got to get out of here. This is gonna be on my piss test. They're gonna be able to tell for days to come, like
Right.
just that I'm even around it. And so, no, they were like, Mrs. was like,
Wait,
no,
who
like
was testing you?
no one. But that was
Oh,
just
okay.
my
I was like,
first
was your mom
indication.
testing you? Shit, you're
No, no, no,
13,
no.
bro.
No. My first indication was, like anybody that smokes weed, you're gonna be able to tell like that they're a smoker, and you'll be able to
Those
tell
those
like
dreads
hours and
just
days.
grow instantly, man. They don't take any
Right,
time at all.
yeah. My thought process was just being, later on being that I did sports, like it would be a drastic change and they'd be able to tell immediately that,
Right.
and then it would kind of progress from there.
Okay.
But no, man, I managed. I ended up, yeah, they were loading up the bong for me. This was probably, I don't know, maybe looking back, it was probably about a 15, 16 inch bong. So it wasn't really a beginner's type situation either.
That's
But
like my daily driver, but that's
yeah,
like
like
a
it was,
hard that's a hard rip.
yeah. So they loaded it up, and like me just like being like I was the only green one there. I was the only one that had never smoked. So I'm not trying to seem like a loser. So man, I ripped this thing as hard as I could. But you
Ooh,
see, but
sweet
I
summer
saved my
child.
That's the thing is I saved myself because when I had ripped it, like I had stopped. I didn't pull it right away. Like I had just had the little bit of smoke that came from when I first pulled it. So
Oh.
I thought I had actually did some. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. And it was like, no, you got to clear it. You got to clear it.
Oh,
No,
drink your milk,
I'm
son.
yeah, I'm not knowing what that means. So cousin comes over. And I'm sitting there about to hit it again, do exactly what I did. So I start ripping it as hard as I can to clear the bowl. While I'm mid rip, he pulls the shit and it was game over. It was he
Just
pulled the
straight
squat,
into you.
just shot to the back of my throat with such force that I actually leaned back a bit, like it actually hit me. And man, it was all I remember was tasted horrible, smelled horrible,
Oh
got a
yeah.
headache almost immediately.
Mexican brown frown.
Yeah, and honestly, and like I said, I mean, that was kind of the thing. I was like, man, this is what everybody's ranting and raving about is a damn headache and a dry throat. Um, but later on, we had ended up leaving and walking to the grocery store to get the snacks because they were not prepared. I
Yeah.
raided the kitchen before. So yeah, like probably about maybe 5, 7 minutes into the walk, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm moving a little bit slower than I anticipated. It kind of had that delayed creeper reaction. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, I remember going straight home and straight to sleep because I didn't want to look my parents in the eye. And luckily, like I said, it wasn't a big deal because they assumed I was tired already after the track practice. So man, I came home, immediately went in the bathroom, scrubbed down, doused the clothes in like cheap cologne that I had, like Axe. It was like Axe Body Spray or something. And like I said, again, it worked for me because I was just coming home from practice, so they think I'm just trying to cover up the funk. I woke
Yeah.
up. I remember going to school the next day and finding him, and I asked them multiple times, "Can you tell? Can you tell I smoked?" Like because I had to go back to track practice the next day, and so like all throughout the day, like between every class, I'm asking, like, I said, "Do I look okay? Like, I think they're gonna be able to tell? Do I smell anything like that?" Um, and then like once I finally got reassured that they weren't gonna be able to tell, like after practice, like it ended up becoming more of a daily thing. Um, but yeah, it just went on from there. The rest is history, man. Bong Marley came a few years after that. Like we just been running with it since.
That's crazy. So so was that in Washington State?
That was, yeah.
So you're okay. So you're from yeah, okay. So your your first go is honestly like a large bong. And so
Yeah.
you're pulling on this thing and you're just trying to pull it through. So you just keep lighting, hitting,
Yeah,
hitting.
exactly.
And
I
then he
had no
pulls the
clue about
slide
pulling.
and you've been stacking this shit.
Yeah, I had no idea that that was even a thing. Because for somehow I had missed that during the whole thing when they were passing around. I didn't notice the pulling the slide part. I was just paying attention to them. Okay, they're hitting this as hard as they
How
can.
does everyone see did they know you hadn't smoked before?
Yeah, that was the whole point. I think that's the reason I was invited because it was going to be entertaining. Huh, let's get this guy high for the first time.
God damn, that's cool,
that,
but man,
that
they
was
should
the
have given
agenda
you a
of the day.
tutorial. He almost learned a bad lesson because I've seen first timers like spit bowl pieces and down stems out because they don't know how
Yeah,
to pull a
yeah,
bong, and like you could
exactly.
have broke their shit and it wouldn't have been even your fault, dude.
And you see, that would have definitely been their fault. Giving a newbie something like that. Like that would have definitely been on them.
Like, let me give you this $50 corner store special that I ain't been able to break yet. Here you go, cowboy. Go ahead and rip on
Right.
that. Oh, and I've
Yeah.
had people not tell me too. And this is like post legalization too.
Yeah.
Like I had a buddy come over and I we were smoking weed and like after he got all couch locked and like basically greened out. And like me and my wife had to watch his kid for a little while and shit. And afterward he was all mad. He's like, dude, why didn't you tell me how strong it was? I was like, I was hitting it. And he's like, I was hitting it as much as you. And I'm like, well, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Bro, I will hit it until I'm done. You are not
Yeah.
obligated to do that. Like, it's Friday night. I don't have work. I'm trying to get fucked up. My friend's here from out of town. I'm getting fucked up. Don't try to keep up with me. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but you see, and that's just one of those things that's just kind of assumed because like I said, I was the only one that hadn't smoked. So there
If
was
your
no
buddy
way.
was a bartender, this is why we need the cultural knowledge out there. If your buddy
Yeah,
was a bartender, would you go shot to shot with him?
of course not.
Right. Same kind of thing.
Yeah,
Bitch,
but
I grow
it's
this
also
shit.
but also being if you have a bartender buddy, generally speaking, you're probably going to be closer of age, a little bit more mature than a 13-year-old. See, my thought
Truth.
process was that like, oh, I can't act like a newbie. I got to try to keep up with them, regardless, even if I don't know what I'm talking about. 'Cause, it's a pride issue. It's like I can't be the weenie here, like
See,
regardless newbie or not.
that was broken for me as a young man. I was in military education shit for a while,
Yeah,
and someone's got to be the courageous one to ask the dumb question, or no one will ask it. And I
yeah,
just habitually became that guy, and I got better at asking the dumb question smartly. But like,
right.
if I don't know and it seems dangerous, like a giant vase that I could break, I'll be
Yeah.
that guy, bro. Even when I was I was not fun at parties when I was younger, Bong Marley. Let me tell you what, because I had to learn. Okay, well, what is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, how do they make it stronger than beer? And then someone has to explain distilling with me. I still got drunk on 10 shots of Southern Comfort and puked on this poor girl in the pool, but he just had to explain it to me first.
Yeah, he just had to explain it to me. I get that.
like, and it's kept me out of trouble, like a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, and like I said, I mean, I learned quite a few of the lessons from the drinking early on, like I said, but I didn't get that same experience from my first time.
You're running over there and you're smoking every other day. Well, at what point do you bring the party home? Do you all right, you guys are cool, but I want to back porch this shit. Like, at what point do you decide to buy a sack, for example?
Oh man, so it was probably, man, I want to say maybe 2 months in. Like, and so I was buying weed for probably a good, man, I want to say almost 2 years before I actually even ever brought it home. Like,
Okay, so what would you buy, like a gram, and then just smoke it all at the place?
yeah, pretty much you like buy a gram or a dub or something
Fuck,
like that,
bro.
just wherever you
Someone
were,
had
and
like
then
a teenage like crack house, but it was just teenagers smoking reefer.
pretty much, or like if you're like, okay, so like, whoever put more in, we divvy it up that way. But it was like, man, I knew better. That I didn't know much, but I knew that I ain't bringing this shit home at all. Like I knew that much. So yeah, for like the first 2 years, yeah, it was just always out and about and get rid of all the evidence before I come home.
Yeah, see, I could hide stuff in my room, but I never brought home. Well, first of all, I wasn't into weed in high school. I had a similar experience, a little older than you, probably like 16, 17, but I hit weed out of a highlighter, dude, and it was brown frown. And I did
Oh
not I
shit.
did not get high. I got hungry and I had a headache. But I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
have that
yeah.
high. And I was like, man, listen, I was a dick. Before I had weed again, I had weed another time. It didn't do much then either. And I was like, man, these fucking hippies are full of shit. Either they're like weak or something or whatever, because this shit doesn't do shit. I'm just gonna drink, right?
Yeah.
And then I didn't even have a real weed until I was like college age, and someone gave me real weed, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
And then I
See, that
realized,
just makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. And then when I got out of the army, and I was able to do it because in the army they do test you. So
Yeah.
if you fuck around, you'll find out, and you'll get kicked out. It's not worth it. But once I
Yeah,
got
I mean,
out,
like
like
a whole lot of work just to lose it for something like that, for sure.
oh yeah, something that you can get when you're done, you know.
Yeah, it'll
Um,
always be there.
yeah, well, let's hope, right? It seems that
Right.
way now. You know, are you one of these guys that thinks legalization is going to continue moving forward and not backward?
I, you know, I will say that just probably within the last 5 years or so, I would say there's been a pretty significant pretty significant switch in like the way I think about the legalization. I used to be all for it, more just because like, just get this out of the way, stop arresting people for a plant kind of thing like that. I just looked at it as it was just one more thing the police were bothering us about.
I kind of agree
But
with you there. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean not to say that I don't feel that, like I said, that there's certain ethnic groups that are still disproportionately, discriminated against for certain reasons. But my main reason against it now is just being in the industry. I just see what it would do to the industry just based on how things go now. Um, Meaning that, like I said, I just don't want to see like a lot of the mom and pops, whether it be the farms or the retailers or just whatever, shaking out. Just because that's generally what happens when, when the government gets involved and they start setting in a bunch of rules. Going around and trying to fix things that weren't broke in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, and like for an example, is here in Washington State is what like the biggest producer and processor that we have out here is Grow Up Farms, and it's Fat Panda and Dabstract, and they operate under like 6 or 7 different product lines,
Right.
all with different names. But it's become known because early on in the industry they had a whole lot of like workers violations as far as the working conditions and
Oh shit.
yeah, fire code violations, this type of thing. But as time went on, it became more shady and shady to the point there's countless memes about Fat Panda as a whole because it's generally accepted that it is the Russian mob. Um, yeah, and
Let's talk.
yeah, people have this rumor has pretty essentially been going around since about 2017, 2018. Well,
Okay.
just this last year, things have been trickling out with just more cemented this or kind of going along those lines. Like one of the biggest things was so the one of the co-owners, the one of the founders of this brand, he was had a federal indictment for a $200 million money laundering scheme.
Fuck.
And yeah, with like 8 other people, and federal indictments you don't beat. They only indict you because they already got all the evidence to convict you. I mean, it's not just like we hope we'll win kind of thing. If you get
Yeah.
indicted by the federal government, you pretty much it's done deal.
Yeah, they're
So
coming for
yeah,
you, bud.
so apparently, man, he's pouring all this money into doing like these like online pharmaceuticals, like bonk CBD and like supplement products and things like that, like
Jesus.
but it's all like fraudulent, like, the books were fluffed or people weren't receiving products or, you know, LLCs were fraudulent, just all little things that added up. But it ended up being a $200 million money laundering scheme. And so
See,
that's one thing.
stories like that are what scared me from getting into like the bigger cultivation space
Yeah.
and not staying a home grower and like going out and either because I've done some work on some very small medical farms, but I've never
Yeah.
worked on a rec site, even though I have my shit or whatever, like my permit to
Yeah.
work like out there or in the dispensary or whatever. Cause like I hear so many stories and then I'll hear about this place being tied to like people in Houston, like my hometown and shit. And like dudes from like Medford from this valley, 2 of them being found murdered in Houston with like in a hotel. And you're like, what the fuck? And then like, it's just like weird shit like that. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of like, because this used to be a completely criminal industry. So there's a certain amount of people already in this industry that are both comfortable and accustomed to operating at, in certain legal gray areas and just outright doing illegal shit to make money. And
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and so um it can be dangerous when they take that approach to work safety and stuff.
Yeah.
Um and to the point where if you've worked on some of these places, like I was, and even just being a rural worker, like someone who does manual labor, like out in the sticks, like just for people, for like cash or like whatever, like
Yeah.
you end up like I like I'll do like I've done like farm work, like you'll hire me to like come out for a few hours and or do this or do that, or someone will have family out of town so they need help, so they'll pay me like $15 an hour to like set rat traps or like whatever it is, clean out an old drying room and reset it, or
Yeah.
top dress whatever it is, farm work, right, whatever it is. And this one lady handed me a respirator one time, and I was like, "What's this?" And she's like, "It's a respirator. You put it on, while you're cleaning up the rat shit in the attic." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I probably should have been wearing a respirator all these months doing this shit. Why wasn't I?" And then I'm like, "Oh shit, like maybe they should get OSHA out on these farms."
Yeah. Yeah, so like there's a couple of bigger names in the industry here that they're under scrutiny for questionable activity. Like I mean, still, so the guy got indicted, right? So one of his more popular strains is the strain called Trophy Wife, and so he indeed does have a trophy wife. She's this, blonde woman, real big breast, just the whole nine and everything like that. Very flashy lifestyle.
Right.
So it they both were very prevalent on social media, and flaunting this lifestyle and everything like that. Well, shortly after this indictment, the social media presence came to a pretty much standstill for the guy. Now the wife, yeah. So that's kind of expected because attorney probably told him, hey, keep your mouth shut. Don't make yourself look more guilty than you need to.
Listen, I've got a buddy that's got hung up with some shit like that. It's not even the law. It's some custody bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, but man, because they're watching for that. But the crazy part is that the wife never stopped, even after he get it.
She
Yeah,
got a deal, didn't she?
that's what I said. I mean, she's still showing like her in helicopter rides, landing at vineyards, like just all this out of this extreme shit, off the wall stuff that she doesn't necessarily need to be doing. So yeah, that was my first thing too. It was like she was the one that flipped. She was the source. There's no way she is still out here, flaunting like this, and her husband is in the middle of a federal indictment. She was the source. Clearly, she flipped on him or something.
Or like she just doesn't listen. Like, the lawyer was like, "You need to stop." She's like, "Whatever, it's my social media. I do what I want." And she's out of
Yeah, but
control.
like
There's that
you know,
too.
yeah, and so yeah, one of the newest things is that just here within like the last month they brought on a new owner, and it's this like there's no picture of the guy. Nobody can find a picture of the guy, but it's a Russian name, man. Like it's
Well,
it's very
oh,
Eastern European
dude.
name.
Well, and they
Very
probably
Eastern.
didn't care that he was growing weed, but then it's a way for them to skip those sanctions, right? If
Exactly.
he's selling weed under the table to wherever back east or whatever, all that cash can just go back to Russia.
Yeah, but now since you actually got all that tied up, it's like how much do they really know? How much of the books of his legal operation did they look
And then
into
they
already?
dig it
Because
in, and they're just gonna fuck
yeah,
him now, right?
because if any of that money crosses the wrong path, bro, like I said, the entire operation gets shut down. Like,
What's the old it's an old story amongst growers and weed lawyers. It might be proverbial. I'm sure it's happened more than once, but right, it's the guy that just knocked over the corner store down the street,
yeah,
hopping your fence into your weed garden that no one knows is there, and then the cops arresting him in the middle of your weed garden and getting busted
yeah,
that way. That the universe can fuck you, man.
exactly, exactly. So, that leads me back. So that's one thing why I don't really support the legalization as much as I used to, because one thing that has happened over the years with that specific that farm is that the quality has diminished extremely, just because they've gone more and more corporate. Their whole thing is they'll go to like these trade shows or find out of state farmers markets, and they'll essentially muscle up these old growers and be like, hey, so we'll take these genetics off of your hand, for a lump sum, buy you out or whatever like that. And then they take it and end up renaming it. And, it's nothing is like, small batch or anything like that. It's just cram as much in the warehouse as you
That's
can. And
why y'all need,
yeah,
if y'all could legalize home grow and make the industry compete with the better shit you can grow at home, I guarantee you your weed will get better. And also
that was
you'll
that
have
was
more skilled
1614.
cultivate. I know, God.
That
Tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so man, the House Bill 1614 here in Washington State was probably one of the more promising ones, and it was one of the more ones that ran in line with how they're trying to do the federal legalization with the social equity, giving back, expunge records. So this one
Yeah.
had most in depth was uh, I think the main reason that actually got it as far as it did through the House was one of their big things was they would expunge the records of all non-violent cannabis offenses, but also like I said, give them like some sort of vocational treatments when they get out. They can learn to get a job in the trade because where are all your best growers right now? Pretty much in prison because they all got locked up pre legalization. So
Yeah.
let them out, give them a job, man. Put that to use. Like I said, it's already resources you have, and that people are willing to do this as long as you treat them right. But there were so many good things about this bill, and another one was also, like I said, along with expunging those criminal records was they were loosening some of the regulations and conditions they have right now because you can only be a part of so many parts of the industry as a felon. Like I could never be a part of the ownership side of things or just a little bit higher up. There's only certain things I can do with a felony conviction.
See,
Right now I
that's
do have
fucked up.
yeah, and it I think it just like I said, it just has to do with that's how it was originally written when they first proposed this bill in 2013 and there were like I said, there were just things they wrote in just essentially to get the groundwork done. But I mean, nobody thought it would generate this much tax dollars. Nobody thought that, they would actually see these educational programs get enacted. So it's
Right.
like, why not actually give these people a chance? Okay, hey, maybe banning them from the industry wasn't the best idea. Maybe we
Well,
should let them in and try to grow it a little more.
it's like they make those prisoners fight fires in California, but they don't let them be firefighters when they get released. It's like, dude, he's good enough to risk his life for $1.03 an hour on the fire line, but you aren't going to pay
Exactly.
him minimum wage for it. Like, go fuck you. Like, who is he going to hurt out there? Go fuck yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not trying to be a dick, but
yeah, but like
they
that's
evacuate those
legitimately
areas. The only people there, like, okay, let's say you're worried about violent offenders. They're not chained to a log while they're working out there on those fire lines when they're from prison. So what does it matter if they're free men who have already served their debt to society? Same thing with cannabis. And you were going to talk
the
about you having a felony conviction, and I interrupted you by being outraged. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. You're totally good, man. Yeah. So, and that goes into when I said it was a couple years before I even decided to bring the weed home. Well, by that time, a couple years went by. Yeah, I was still doing great in school, but by that time, I had ended up getting too deep in the wrong crowds. Yeah. So I had ended up hanging with a couple hoodlums, got into some criminal activity. And so I started selling weed and, I
Right.
sold a couple more things like that. I was selling prescription drugs and that
Yeah.
was actually where the felony convictions came from.
Oh,
And
fuck.
yeah. And so, yeah, it turned into a couple of assault charges and things like that. But they all kind of went hand in hand just because um, I had an extreme drinking problem, first of all, developed that right off the bat. I
Yeah.
don't know where that came. It came out of left field, but I got that out of the way by the time I was like 21. So, but yeah, man, I had hit a period of probably about 3 years where it was you couldn't tell me anything. I was doing whatever I want. I had actually left home. So by the time I was 16, so I was out on my own and like I said, just trying to assuming I knew how the world works,
Just
and like I said,
running around couch surfing? Is that what you were doing?
pretty much, man. And I was a pretty cocky kid for not having, something to call my own, not even being at home. I was that kid, I'm sitting in the middle of the school cafeteria with a diamond encrusted sweatshirt, drinking a bottle of Goldschlager right out in the open because fuck you. Like, what are you gonna do? And I'll throw a stack of hundreds in your face. That's
Oh, that's why
yeah,
one of the reasons you got busted too.
yeah, yeah,
You were
yeah. I
just
was a
throwing it up in everybody's nose.
pretty much, yeah. I was a very cocky kid. You couldn't tell me nothing, kind of thing.
That a lot of young men who get into the drug game young or get into the drug game without any kind of like anyone to rein them in or help them understand. the money gets to their head because, like, let's be real, making $100,000 slanging pills or whatever is not the
Yeah,
same as making $100,000 like laying pipe, right? It's
it
different.
is not.
So like kids get cocky because they think they're better than people who are working for less money than
Exactly.
them.
Minimal work,
Right.
minimal work, maximum gain, you know?
And,
It's
and a lot of times it works out until you get your pee-pee slapped, right?
exactly.
Yeah, and it's rough. There were a lot of guys that were in the army during the time that I was in who joined the army, I think partially to get ahead of a bad rap sheet. Because
Yeah.
it looks one way if you were like, I got this misdemeanor, possession with intent to sell, et cetera, et cetera. But then I joined the army and was in for 4 years. And, that looks different than, maybe I did this and now I'm working here and I've been working here and hire me. It's harder to get out from under that felony rap. It's rough.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that it came to a point in like 2009. I think it was like my eye opener where I had to kind of get my shit together. Um, so I was, and that was that was actually the last time I was it. I think that was the last time I actually got in trouble was 2009.
That's funny. The
Um,
last fist fight I got in was 2009.
there we go. See a pivotal year.
Yeah. It was a first deployment too. So a lot
There we
happened
go.
that year.
Yeah, man. So I was at this party, doing the whole selling thing, because that's where you make the easy money is going to the
Oh
house
yeah.
parties, such,
Yeah.
So
I
man, I
don't.
was
I
late.
don't. I've never actually
Never. I don't know
sold in
what
the
you're talking.
wild. But no, I cop to it now. It's been so long. The only thing I ever sold was like Adderall after out of a pen one time in high school because someone gave me a bunch of Adderall to eat, and I'm like, I'm not eating this Adderall. I'll just sell it for $5 a pill or whatever. And so I did that, and that was my brief foray into drug dealing, and no one could prove it because schools didn't have cameras back then. Bitches.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but so yeah, man, I was leaving this party, man, and so I got in the car. It was in the middle of winter. I got in my car to leave, man. Of course, that was already my first mistake. I was slightly intoxicated, but I got in the car, man, and so I got on the driveway and turned the corner, and as soon as I turned the corner, there's this slight like embankment, a little ditch, but it had been snowing super heavy, and it's so heavy to the point that, from my angle, the ditch looked flush with the road. So I
Ooh.
cut the yeah, I cut the corner a little too sharp and went right into the ditch. So I made it, 300 feet outside of the party. Like, I didn't make it very far before I had, ended up in the ditch. And so only sitting in the ditch probably maybe 3-4 minutes or so. And then a good Samaritan comes around the corner, you know. But lucky for me, this good Samaritan was a state trooper.
Oh boy.
And so the Good Samaritan, he pulls up behind me, doesn't put his lights on or anything like that. He just pulls up behind me and gets out the car, comes up to the driver, is like, "Can I help you?" He's like, "Are you stuck? Just trying to help me get out." But he leaned in the car, and lo and behold, I didn't lean away from him fast enough. He smelled the breath, and it was over from there. He asked me to get out the car, and so, I'm sitting there talking shit. I was like, "Oh, the car is leaning. It might be a little dangerous. It'll slide more." I'm sitting there trying to make excuses not to get out the car, And so he was like,
Oh.
please get out the car. And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. This ain't going to go the way I want." I get out the car, man. I'm already drunk. I got a gun in the car. I got
Oh
pills in the
fuck.
car. I got a bottle in the car. I got weed in the car.
Oh
I
my
ended up,
god, so you've got an open container, you've got
I was a
pills
Christmas,
and weed.
I was a
You
wrapped
were
up
because you
Christmas
were
present.
at the fucking house party just slanging.
I was that state trooper's Christmas present, just
Oh
wrapped up
my
right there. Like
god. You
he hit
met
the month's quota on one stop.
so they
Yeah.
took you in that night. You didn't
Oh
go
yeah. I
home.
was I was taken in immediately. There was nothing they could throw out. Like it was more as like, yeah, we could throw this charge out, but we'd have to take you for this one and vice versa. So it was, yeah, there was no getting out of it whatsoever. So the
That's too
one
many that's too many things. Yeah, they can't.
so the one glimmer of hope that I had. And even then, I still got broken off from this. Like they still screwed me.
Oh
But
yeah.
The one thing about this that makes me smile was I knew exactly how much weed I had brought with me, and I knew exactly how much I sold. So I had 48 grams left when I left the house party. And so I'm going through court documents when I reading through it. I don't know if this ended up being a typo or if they had actually just weighed it out or took some, but in the report it said it was only 38 grams, but it was all in one bag, so they couldn't get me for the intent, whatever intent to distribute. But
Ah,
at the
that
time,
cop might have been trying to do you a small
this was
favor.
hey, I'm not sure, but this was pre-legalization. So at the time, 40 grams or less was considered a misdemeanor still. It wasn't even a felony
Oh,
possession.
good.
So yeah, 40 grams or more would have put it a felony. And I had 48. I knew that for a fact. But all the paper said 38. So it was like, was it a typo? Did he, scrape some off the top? Yeah, is he doing me a solid?
Or did he
But
just take 8 grams, like take a
that's
10
what I'm
gram
that's
home?
exactly like
He's like,
who's
how
gonna
much you gonna
know?
take some of this? Do this guy a favor, do me a little favor.
Honestly, at that point, like he had his pick of whatever he wanted, man. Because I had Vicodin, I had Percocet, I had everything in that damn
You're
car.
like,
Like,
he's like, no, you didn't have any Percocet. You're like, all right,
yeah.
officer, I didn't have any Percocet.
Oh,
Sure,
you see
whatever you
that? I
say.
got charged for those. Like there was
He
no
didn't want to take those. That's why.
whether it was 1 or 30 pills. Like that was still going to be a heavy charge there. But like I
Oh
had to learn
yeah.
about the weight. I was like, oh, it's one less felony, just one.
Well, and you couldn't play it off like it was an old script because you had like 3 different types of pills in there.
Oh, and none of them were in the bottles. So I mean, even
Oh,
then,
loose
you're
pills.
just
Oh man.
yeah. There was no getting out of this whatsoever. I mean, maybe the universe was telling me, yeah, this is your time. You need to get out. This is not cut out for you.
So what? So you go to booking, right? You're going to jail.
Oh yeah. I went to jail, and like I said, within 2 days they had me talking to a lawyer trying to work up a deal because yeah, they said they were gonna cook me. So I ended up taking an Alfred plea, which is pretty much saying that you admit the guilt or you don't admit guilt, but you believe that with the evidence they have against you, they would convict you. So it's saving them time essentially. It's just handing over the win to them pretty much. But
And
usually, like I
saving
said,
them money.
yeah, like I said, and usually they're willing to work with you and give you a better deal. Yeah, man. So I ended up going down for a couple of months on that. They pleaded down everything, but it was just like that was my opener. It was like I don't need all this extra. I'm just gonna
Wait,
stick
you
with some
only
weed.
did 2 months for that?
Yeah, well, because it was time served. Because I ended up doing like it was total like 100
Oh fuck.
112 days.
Okay, I was like, okay, so you
Oh
spent
no
time
no
in
no
the
no no.
county.
No, that was on the extra time. No, I was sitting there before I had actually got the plea. But they spun it around like they initially did it like 2 days in, but then I didn't like that because like I said, I was like, oh no, I can beat this, I can beat this. So they gave me one more opportunity. They was like, here's a little bit of tweak. We'll drop this one, plead this one down one more. I was like, all right, man, you the expert, because after that, I thought for sure I would have been out of there. I was like, oh, somebody's gonna come bail me out. I'm gonna run. Like that was honestly my plan. Was like, I was still thinking like, oh, can't nobody hold me down. I'm cocky. Like I was like, if I can just make bail, I'll never have to deal with this again. I'll leave.
Bitch, you're in
Like,
jail, bro. What are you talking about? They got
yeah,
you.
that was my thought process. But
They
you
found
know,
you in a ditch and scooped your ass up. You ain't going
nobody,
nowhere.
nobody, nobody from the outside comes and bails you out. Nobody else that's doing the criminal activity with you. Nobody comes and saves the day. I had to
Yeah.
learn that one the hard way. For some reason, I was fooled into thinking that. I don't know, being young and impressionable and not having anybody
Well,
else to guide me.
how they get like, so let's say you're in the drug game and you get busted and your buddy's gonna come be in the drug game too and spend 2,000, 3,000, $50,000 cash. Now they're looking at him like, where the fuck did you get that money, man? There's no like bondsman's receipt here. This is cash.
Yeah, see, and I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking like, yeah, somebody's gonna look out for me. Like that was
Yeah,
just my
like your
thought.
mom might
I
mortgage
don't
your
give a fuck how
house,
you
but
do it,
that's
just do it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my thought process, but it was kind of an eye opener just because, like, and also being in jail, it's not glamorous. Like, like they make it seem like this shit is boring. Like, I'm literally sitting here doing nothing. You, yeah, ask them what time it is, and they tell you shit like, "Wow, you ain't going nowhere." It's like, it's shit like that. It's like, no,
Oh
this
yeah, I
isn't for
guess you're
me.
not allowed to wear a watch in jail, are you? You can't wear a watch. You can't.
No,
There's probably not clocks on the walls because dudes will fuck with them.
yeah, and it's like, for what? What do you need to know the time for? You ain't going anywhere.
We'll tell
It's
you when it's time to eat, bitch. Jesus, that sounds so
exactly,
unpleasant.
man. 5:30, 10:30, and 4:30. Man, that's meal times.
Ah, and the food's not good.
The food is not great. Okay, I take that, but the biscuits and gravy wasn't terrible. But the rest of the food, no, it's not great. But
Breakfast, like in the army, that was one meal they at least half-ass tried to make not like horrible. Like
yeah, they had to
lunch was
keep you
hit or
feeling
miss.
so.
Dinner was always shit in the army. Always. Dinner was always shit. Lunch would be
Yeah.
okay sometimes. Breakfast, though, the army shined. So it's good to know that in prison at least you can get some biscuits and gravy, at least in Washington.
You get the one thing, man, but it was just killer because like having like I said, the at least from my side of the jail, the meal times were 5:30, 10:30, and 4:30. And so like yeah, the 5:30 a.m. that's a bit early for someone to be getting up for breakfast. So it's like, you don't always got the appetite. But then dinner's at 4:30, it's like, okay, so what am I gonna do until 5:30 tomorrow morning? I can't eat shit. Like so, that's
I wonder
that's when
if
the
that's
card.
why guys work out so hard in jail, just to stay hungry.
Pretty much, and like I said, and that's where the dominoes and the spades games came into play because man, you're playing for juice packets and dessert cakes, man. You gotta supplement until that next mealtime come around.
Oh man, that sounds not pleasant. Not like a
It's
place I
it's real,
want to
like I
be.
said. Overall, man, it's a boring life, man. It's a whole lot of just hurry up and wait, man. Just sitting there doing nothing. It's not fun.
No, and
I'd
you
much
can't
I'd much
go anywhere.
prefer
You
out
can't
there.
go on a hike while you're waiting. You're stuck.
No, I can't rip the bong. I can't do none of that shit, man. It sucks.
And so you did 180 something days. So you did
It's pro-
half. You did half
yeah,
a year.
Yeah, it was pled down, and the only reason was because like all of my felony charges from all of my charges from like I was 16, they were all juvenile charges, so they couldn't count that against me. It was based on a point system, so they were to plead down all these. This is my first time getting caught as an adult, so that
Oh, so
part
you
helped
can't fuck up
tremendous.
again. They'll nail you to the wall.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
they suspended my sentence for like 3 years. Like if I fucked up, they were gonna hit me with like a bunch more time.
And
That's
so
been
yeah.
15 or almost 15 years now. I'm long off the radar now.
Good. Yeah, yeah, dude, that's great. It's one thing because any time in jail is awful.
Yeah,
Anytime, and I've never been to jail, but like I've been to holding facilities, as and I've had I had my ex spouse went to jail a few times. I've
yeah,
had buddies in jail, and I've been in the army, so I've had my will subject to someone else's, if that makes sense. And
yeah.
it doesn't feel good, and it can ruin you over time. So any time that you do in that environment can sap you of the necessary motivation to pull yourself out. It's rough. It's a rough.
Exactly.
And so I'm glad that you were stubborn the first deal they offered. I'm glad you didn't try to balk at the second one though.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I had a little bit of time to think in between because, like I said, it was a humbling experience. I
It
went in
sounds
very
like it.
cocky. I came out with a little better grasp on reality.
Okay, so let's talk about something more pleasant than jail, because there's one more like first I wanted to ask you about, because you're really into bongs.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've also never. What was the first bong you got? Like your first bong that you called your own?
So my first bong was a giant, like one of the soft glass, like it was the old 70s type with the real thin, where the bowl's attached to the downstem.
Oh yeah. And you just pull the whole thing out.
Yeah, so it was a giant one like that, but I feel like it was like a straight from China because I could only hit it tilted because the downstem was like a little too short. It came
Yeah.
that way, but it was like a little too short to hit it flat. So I always had to like lean it a little bit just for the water because like I couldn't put more water in it or I'd get spillage. Just the way like the hole was sitting,
I
the
feel
or the
like
downstem.
bong design has come so far just in the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I feel like they work way better. Um, and so you get out of jail, you get set up again. So did you get that bong during your wild days? Is that when you got that one?
I did, yes.
So out of jail, what's your first bong out of jail?
Out of jail, it was actually just a simple straight tube, probably about a 14-inch straight tube.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was that. Do you still have that one?
I do not. That one got broken, I think maybe a year later.
Fuck, that's a good run
Yeah, I
for
was,
a
that,
solo
and like I
dolo
said,
though.
because very early on, man, right off the bat, man, I was like, oh, I'm gonna take this bong with me, you know, like so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've learned over the years, transporting bongs, I know how to safely transport them from place to place now. Like
Yeah.
before, I
So
was just, throw it in a backpack and just hope for the best.
so how do you do it now? Do you wrap them in like bubble wrap, or do you have a special
I
like?
usually I usually use a towel, and I have it kind of I have a double compartment backpack to where it kind of is able to cinch it up and keep it secure.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of like those it's a hiking backpack.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Like
got
what it comes
a
like hydration packs and stuff, and
yeah, I've got a small one, but I think I'd have to get it. Mine's a small, like I think it's like a 14 liter, but I'd have to get an 18 liter to hold a 15-inch bong, a little bit longer.
Oh yeah,
So,
see, mine's a 25 liter.
oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, you got a bigger one. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you're bringing. I swear I've seen you pull like a what, like a three. Does that thing hold like a 2-footer?
Oh, I no, the
Almost.
3 footer I had to bring in a lacrosse.
Oh, okay,
I
okay,
had
all
it in
right.
a lacrosse stick case. That did not fit in the backpack. No,
I was like, well, how the hell did he get that up the fucking?
no. I needed like a guitar case for those, and like a big like bass setup for those.
You go into a music shop and just buy a soft bag. They're like, "Do you play?" Nah.
Exactly
Just
right.
buy it and walk out. Like, what is it for? Like, shh. They think you're
Right.
they think you're like Machine Gun Kelly or some shit. You're just trying to get stoned.
Right.
Um. Oh
Love it.
man, that's you. Just speaking of bongs, you just did something really cool with one of my favorite bong people who makes bong, Special K. Can you tell us
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
about
yeah,
that?
yeah. Special K. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, one of the things they've been doing is like they've been setting up like these build a bong lives to where they'll pick like certain influencers and stuff and have them come on live and watch the whole process, get suggestions from them. And the end result like is like I said, they send one bong that they made for to the actual influencer, and then another one is sent for a giveaway. So that's pretty cool, it's very immersive and very involved. So I like the process. Everything is unique, and nothing is quite the same. They have pieces of glass they'll never use again. I really like the overall idea of it for sure.
Yeah, and Special K is a glass blower out of Eugene, Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife I have one piece of his, but my wife tries to buy one every year, so she has one of every with the signature on it every year, except for I think just last year because we haven't had much money, and then
Yeah.
one of her I think her 2018 broke. That sucked.
Yeah, that does suck.
But
It's
yeah,
always fun using a piece of glass.
well, especially like that because those are pretty beautiful. Like I love my clear glass.
Yeah.
But it's also like if my tank broke, I would be really sad. But I can go get another 16-inch glass beaker that slaps fairly at a reasonable price. Whereas some of it, even when they're affordable, these Special K pieces, each one hits a little different, and each
Yeah.
one feels a little different. And once you have one that you like, it can be hard to replicate.
Exactly. Because yeah, you can't duplicate it identical. It's not like mass produced.
I actually mine is one of the old ones he used to make with the rubber grommet in it still.
Oh wow, there we go.
Yeah, from a 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it Narcissa. It's so old that if you pick it up and look on the bottom of the bong, I've had it so long before bong mats were really in my radar. So
Yeah.
there's a permanent ring around the base of it where it's been scraping on tables for so long it's slightly worn away. It's so vibey.
Yeah, and you see that I have a couple, but for some reason I just man, I enjoy like putting them right on the asphalt, man. Like I don't know, there's
Oh
just
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
about it.
Well, that soft glass, I think, is less likely to shatter than some other stuff, putting it
Oh
on
yeah.
harder surfaces. Um, but like I have a few relatives down south and they have tile, and I'm like, ugh, that would just
Oof,
ruin my life.
oof, yeah, just the slightest little tap, you're gonna chip something.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like, just because I drop bowls, like it happens. And so far I've been lucky that I have this bowl that I've really been enjoying for snap throughs.
Yeah.
And And usually every bowl that I'm using frequently doesn't last this long, but knock on wood, it's been lasting good. So, which the one? What's the one like that you had? It's really tall, right? It's got like a coffee look to it.
Yeah, the you talking about like it kind of has a little spiral on it. Yeah, like the stretch. Yeah, the amber colored one.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it is. It has like a little rainbow around the handle. I like it.
And then how big? And that one's like a 3-footer, isn't it?
Oh no, that one's only man, see those angles are everything. That one's actually only I think like a 20 inch.
Oh, okay, okay. Because I
Yeah, so
saw
it's like
him when
just
he
under two
stretched it
feet.
out, and it looked like he was straining.
Oh no, the one that he's I don't know. I actually don't know how big that one. I thought you were talking about the amber color one I already have.
Oh, see, I was talking about the giveaway, the one that you watched
I
him
yeah,
make.
I have no idea honestly how big it is. Yeah, like
Oh, you haven't gotten it yet, have you?
no, I have not. No. And
See, I
if he
thought
put out
I had made up a story in my head that you were driving down to Eugene to get it.
no, there's they're gonna send them to me.
Nice, 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 nice.
Yeah, but I know they took the pictures on a white background, so it's like there's nothing to scale it to. Like I can't tell how big it is. Like,
Oh, well, you'll have to rip the bigger one to show us all.
oh, for sure, definitely. That's the one I'm keeping. Is the bigger one for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Let's
But
see.
yeah, I'm super excited for it.
So, is this your Friday? Or are you working tomorrow?
No, this is my Friday. My weekend has started.
Nice, 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 nice. So I wanted to ask, like, have you always done the dreadlock thing, or is that a recent thing? Like,
So I actually started growing them in 2015.
okay, so yeah, it's an established thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I started when they were probably about an inch long.
So is that a religious thing with you, or is it purely just style?
It's purely just style, honestly. Because like I said, I've done probably everything you can do with my hair. Like I mean, I've kept it short. I've done the afro thing. I've done the braids. Like
Right.
I've pretty much done everything you can with it. But like this was like honestly, I did it because it was like more of like a low maintenance kind of thing. It was just like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. And I mean, it's been 8 years, and so far so good.
Yeah, it looks really cool, man. Like I don't think I do dreadlocks, but I've done everything else that I think would look remotely okay on my head, and sometimes
Yeah.
some stuff that's not. I mean, I've had mohawks, and I've even had like just a patch of hair on the front that I get really long, like all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta find yourself, man. It takes a little bit sometimes.
I just like it. I like doing wild shit with my hair. Like it's
Hell yeah.
something that's easy to change that doesn't take a lot of effort.
Exactly.
Unless you get into something like what you've got going on, that takes
Yeah,
a level of a commitment.
it does. And if I ever want to do anything different, I just gotta start over. I gotta cut it all off.
Well, and you have to buy new hats
Yeah, definitely.
because you've been buying hats for your dreadhead. You're gonna have to go down a
Yeah,
size, maybe 2, if you want to have like.
exactly. That's why like the past couple years I've only been doing the adjustable ones.
Oh, that
No,
makes
no
sense.
fitted.
That yeah, 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 that
Yes.
makes sense. I've been doing that too recently because I this summer I took it all off. I kind of just buzzed my head, and I've been doing that now
Yeah.
for a little while, and I've been enjoying that. But I don't know. I'm going bald up top a little bit, so it might be time to just do that from now on.
You're right. He's like, just own it.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna be. I don't want to say I'm not gonna be one of, I might end up, but like I don't want to be one of these guys that's like got like a shiny dome in the center of his head and then like
Yeah.
4-inch long hair around it.
You're right. Yeah,
Like
those are the ones in denial.
like I'm not gonna braid the back part of my hair and just let the top be like it's not happening.
Right. And
Um,
the third part they gotta give it up.
and that was what the mohawk was. Eventually, the mohawk was like, well, it's still not thinning in the center.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know. This is getting annoying. I don't know about this.
Yeah.
So, anything you're excited about coming up here soon in the next couple of months in the weed scene? Are you going on a hike that you're looking forward to? Anything exciting?
Man, that's actually what I'm trying to plan out. And so actually one thing I had for the summer, what I'm trying to do is because I'm always trying to find ways to network and kind of build my my presence. And so one thing that I was kind of wanting to start was a little series called Bowls and Plates. And essentially, it's like I want to meet up with, local people in the area, maybe a couple other influences. And, we have a fat sesh, that's the bowls part. And then we go find a nice restaurant and, like do a food critic style thing. And that's the plates part, bowls and plates. That's
So are you going to be filming or doing like a
Oh, yeah.
podcast?
Oh, yeah. This is going to be like film. It's like a mini web series type thing.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, just maybe choose out like 10 restaurants and, get like 10 different guests, something like that. Just, something like that, just to kind of keep it something just to kind of to highlight local. Because I'm trying to get more of a local presence. I got people all around the world, but I still feel like I need to take care of, people here at home a little more, get a little more in depth with local.
Totally.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one idea I got in the works for this summer. But as far as like the high school, man, I want to go back. I actually just went to the Olympic National Forest last week. My little brother, he's in the Army and Special Forces, and he said he wanted to go for a hike. It did not occur to me, oh, he's Special Forces and his challenge level might be slightly different than my challenge level. So, we go out there and we ended up doing this hike, and it was like just over 5,000 feet up, and part of it there was like ropes. We had to climb this wall, and we ended up essentially just like climbing this mountain. He didn't tell me until we got there. Oh, I was like, oh, okay, but I didn't let him know I was complaining. But man, I was cussing him out all kinds of ways in my head.
Oh man, yeah, he
Yeah,
did you
man, he
dirty.
tricked me a little bit.
See that? Yeah. Don't worry. You never have to worry about me taking you on anything longer than 5 miles. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Yeah, this was just like, man, it was just 2 hours going like up, constantly up. It never flattened out. That's the part that killed me. I was like, damn, we get no breaks, not a
No, just
single.
straight up. And he didn't stop very often, did he? Either.
No, no, we took 2 breaks the entire way, man. It was yeah, that wasn't nearly enough, man. I needed about 4 more.
Listen, that's how I used to recreate. Just like I was ruck marching. It took me years to slow down enough to where it was actually fun to hike with me. And
Yeah,
even now, like I'll be like, I should probably stop. And I'll just stop because I don't know, don't know when normal people stop. And then I got out of shape and then I started needing to stop. So it worked itself out. But there for a while, I had no clue that like it's hard to adjust to other fitness level when you're surrounded by a bunch of like crazy, like enhanced dude bros constantly running around like
yeah.
up a mountain, down a hill, blah 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 blah, and you're like, oh, and then he's like, oh, let me hang out with my dready brother,
Man,
and
see,
you're not out of shape either. You're in good shape.
no, man, yeah, but it caught me off guard a little bit. But you see, and the kid is calculated about it because he sat there and watched me. Like I was like, hold up, I'm gonna rip the bong real quick. So I took 2 fat ass bong rips, like pretty much right before when we first got out the car. I had no idea it was gonna be just the boom right off the bat, just the incline all the way up. Or I would have maybe only took one bong rip.
So he just didn't. Yeah, so he set you up. So
Oh,
he's
he
your
definitely
younger brother.
He is my younger brother.
Oh, my
Yes.
little brother's a dickhead too.
Yeah.
Yeah, same shit. Yeah, I guarantee. Yeah, yeah, my little
He knew
brother.
exactly what he was doing.
He wouldn't set me up hiking because he can't really walk that far, but he'd
Yeah.
set me up on some other shit. Put me on a 4-wheeler that was running too hot or some shit like that,
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's kind of funny though. I might do that.
I mean, yeah, I laughed about it once we got back down the mountain. I thought it was funny after the fact.
Oh man, that's rough. Do you remember
Yeah.
what hike that was?
Yeah, it was the Storm King Trail. Kind of about probably it was actually pretty close to the Canadian border. We're probably only about 10 miles from the border.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was I got some pretty dope shots. I can actually send some to you, show you what the view was like.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But I mean, I think, like I said, I would have been more motivated, and I think we could have made better time if I was prepared for what I was getting myself into.
Like if he was like, "Hey,
hey,
bro, we're going on a hard hike. Maybe bring a little extra water and a little less weed."
Yeah, and
Like
then-
warn
and then
you
the-
somehow, yeah.
and then the final straw was like about 2/3 the way in. Right before we get to the ropes, there's this sign that says "End of Maintained Trail," and I'm looking at him. I was like, "Are we going the right way? Are you sure?" He's like, "Yep, keep on, let's keep going." It's like, "Oh shit!" Like, That's what I kind of
See that?
figured.
Yeah, I
Okay.
turn around at those signs too. I'm like, this is where I turn my ass around. Maybe I'll do a bong rip in front of the sign, but I am
Well,
not
yeah,
going
so
past that.
I'll send you the picture of the trail too, like right after we hit that sign. And you'll see like why I was like, okay, yeah, I think we're going the wrong way here. Like it was definitely no longer maintained at that point.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But yeah, I enjoyed myself after the fact, looking at it as a whole. I was like, I didn't die. That's a win.
Well,
I
and
didn't
it's
die.
and sometimes those like really hard workouts are like good for the soul, but usually you want to be prepared for them.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Well, Bong Marley, is there anything you want to say to the audience before I get out of here? I think we're at a little over an hour.
Man, no, man, this was fun. I know I just lost track of time, and we always have loads of fun with this. Man, this was fun. I enjoyed myself. We actually covered a pretty wide variety of things.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Where can the folks follow you?
Oh man, see, I'm pretty much just on Instagram right now, just trying to build that one back up because they deleted me again back in November, so I've been trying to build this one back up. It's Bong Marley
All
on
right.
Instagram. Yeah.
Hey, and if you do get that video thing off the ground, you got to come back on and announce it on here.
Oh,
And
for sure,
yeah,
definitely.
and we'll
Yeah,
and
I
I'll
would
try
love to.
maybe we can network. Maybe we can get some because I don't know. I might know one sort of weed personality up there, but that's about it. But we'll have to talk more about that offline. I'm really excited. That might be cool.
Yeah, no worries, man. Anything you can think of, man, send my way, and we'll see what we can do.
All right, man. Well, I will see you on the flip side, everyone. That was Bong Marley. Go follow him on Instagram to see what he's got cooking next. You can also buy weed from him somewhere. I think somewhere in Bremerton, right?
Yeah, Buddies in Manette. It's in Bremerton. Yeah, come see me.
Hell yeah. Let's overgrow the world. Thank you for listening to the Bagseed Chronicles. If you enjoyed this episode, hey, share it with a friend.
It's Top Wisdom. S&T Records, let's get it. Zecca on the beat. I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying medicated. I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying medicated. I'm gonna get lit, take another fat rip off this bomb shit. Can't get enough of it, yes. Hitting the best, feeling pretty fun.